The Appalachian Trail is shifting, and the map no longer matches reality. The Appalachian Trail has a pulse. Most hikers never feel it. They feel the burn in their thighs, the wind chill, the ache in their shoulders, but they don't feel the slow, ancient heartbeat under the dirt and rock. I have. I've been hiking for over 20 years, with 2 complete thru hikes under my belt. My pack feels like a part of me, and my paper maps are creased with the memories of 1,000 miles. I know their language, their symbols, the gentle curves of the land they're supposed to represent. And I know the trail changes. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy makes adjustments every year. A handful of big relocations, maybe 20 smaller ones. A switchback gets added to stop erosion, or a section gets moved to protect something fragile. It's normal. It's expected. You learn pretty fast to trust the white blazes on the trees over the lines on the page. But what I went through last autumn, in the deep, hazy solitude of the Great Smoky Mountains, that wasn't a relocation. It wasn't in any ATC report. This was a glitch in the earth itself. The map didn't just become outdated, it became a lie. Section 1. I was on a 10-day solo trek, a section I'd hiked half a dozen times before. The air was crisp, the fall colors were just starting to pop, and the familiar rhythm of my boots on the trail was like a meditation. For the first 2 days, everything was exactly as it should be. I was ticking off landmarks in my head, matching them to my topo map with a quiet bit of satisfaction. The first sign something was off was subtle. It was a tree. Not just any tree, but this massive gnarled oak that had been split by lightning decades ago. A real landmark, an old friend on the trail. It's noted on my map and burned into my memory. Except, it wasn't there. I got to the spot, a small clearing where it should have been tearing up the skyline, and there was just nothing. Not a stump, not sawdust, not even a dip in the ground. The forest floor was covered in undisturbed leaves, like the giant had never even existed. I stopped and pulled out my map. My position was right. The clearing was right. The tree was gone. I spent a good 20 minutes just circling the area, this cold knot tightening in my gut. You can't just erase a tree that big without a trace. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I was mixed up. Maybe a storm had somehow washed it away, roots and all. But I knew better. Later that afternoon, my compass started acting up. It wasn't spinning wildly like it would near a big magnetic deposit. It just drifted. It kept insisting that north was about 15 degrees west of where it should be. Annoyed, I pulled out my phone. The GPS app loaded, struggled, and then dropped my little blue dot in the middle of a lake that doesn't exist. I actually laughed. A short, sharp sound the trees just swallowed. Technology fails. That's why I carry a map and compass. That's why I trust the blazes. Those 2 by 6 inch white rectangles painted on the trees. Out here, they are the only truth. Or so I thought. Section 2. The fog started rolling in as the sun got low, which is common in the Smokies. But this was different. This wasn't the usual soft, damp mist that hangs in the hollows. This fog was thick, opaque, and almost unnaturally white. It didn't drift. It advanced. It poured down the trail toward me like a silent, flowing river, and when it hit, the world just vanished. The temperature dropped instantly. The air got heavy, pressing in on me. Every breath felt like work, and all sound died. The chirps of birds, the rustle of things in the undergrowth, the whisper of wind, all gone, smothered by this profound, suffocating silence. I was walking in a perfect, glowing white tunnel. I could see the trail for about 30 feet ahead and 30 feet behind me. Beyond that, there was only a solid, featureless wall of gray. A primal kind of fear, cold and sharp, started picking at my confidence. It felt like I was being watched, herded. The feeling was so intense I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see some predator stalking me. But there was only the empty, silent path, disappearing into the white. Then I saw him. Up ahead, right at the edge of visibility, was the silhouette of another hiker. A tall man, moving at my exact pace. He had on what looked like an old-fashioned oilcloth coat and a wide-brimmed hat that hid his face. For a second, relief just washed over me. Another person. I wasn't alone in this. "Hey!" I called out. My voice sounded flat and dead in the thick air. "Crazy fog, huh?" He didn't turn, didn't slow down. He just kept walking, a steady, unhurried pace that never changed. I picked up my pace, trying to close the gap. For 10 solid minutes, I pushed it, my lungs burning, but the space between us never shrank. He stayed perfectly framed at the edge of the fog, this dark phantom leading me deeper into the white. Then, as if someone just hit delete, he was gone. One moment he was there and the next, just the trail and the suffocating mist. My mind couldn't process it. I told myself it was a trick of the light, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. But the fear in my gut was telling me a very different story. Section 3. I had to get out of the fog. My only plan was to keep moving forward, to literally hike my way out of it. The trail was clear, the blazes were still there. It was my only shot. I walked for what felt like hours. 2, maybe 3. The sun should have been long gone, but the light inside this fog tunnel stayed a constant, eerie twilight. And then I saw it. A strangely bent birch tree, its trunk twisted into a near-perfect S shape. I stopped dead. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I had passed this exact tree hours ago. I'd even taken a picture of it. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for my phone and scrolled back through my photos. There it was, the same tree. The trail had looped. But that's impossible. I hadn't made any turns. I hadn't left the path. I had been walking in a straight line, following the blazes. It felt like the trail itself had been picked up and folded back on itself, like a piece of ribbon. Panic finally shattered my practiced calm. This wasn't a hiking problem. This was a reality problem. I made a decision. To hell with the trail. I turned 90 degrees and just plunged into the woods, determined to break the loop by cutting my own path. The second I stepped past the tree line, the forest fought back. Thorny vines I hadn't even seen from the path snagged my clothes and tore at my skin. The ground, which looked flat, was a mess of hidden holes and slick roots. It felt like the woods were physically rejecting me, a living wall pushing me back to the path. Exhausted and bleeding from a dozen small cuts, I stumbled back onto the trail. And that's when I noticed the blaze on the tree right in front of me. It was a standard white rectangle, but something was wrong. From the bottom edge, a dark, reddish-brown substance was slowly dripping down the bark, like thick, old blood. It wasn't paint. It was a warning. The trail wasn't my guide anymore. It was the cage. Section 4. In that moment, everything I knew about hiking was useless. The map was a fantasy. The compass was a liar. The trail was a predator. There was only one rule left: survival. I remembered an old piece of advice for people lost in the wilderness. Follow water downstream. It's the one law of nature that can't be rewritten. I ignored the trail. I ignored the bleeding blaze. I listened for the sound of water, but there was only that crushing silence. So I just went down. I started scrambling downhill, away from the ridge, away from the path that had turned on me. As I moved, phantom lights began to flicker in my peripheral vision, like ghostly fireflies, trying to mimic the color and shape of a trailblaze, trying to lure me back. I fought my way through the dense, resisting undergrowth. The fog would thin for a moment, showing me a clear, easy path just a few yards away, a tempting illusion, before it thickened again. It felt like the forest was intelligent, like it was actively trying to confuse me, to wear me down, to edit me out of its reality. I have no idea how long I was in there. Time lost all meaning in the gray. I crawled through ravines, slid down muddy slopes, and pushed through branches that felt like they were grabbing at me. Conclusion. I don't remember how it ended. I remember the suffocating fog, the feeling of being hunted, and then nothing. My next memory is the sharp, painful glare of sunlight. I was lying in a ditch on the side of a gravel fire road. My pack was gone. My clothes were shredded. I was covered in deep scratches and bruises I had no memory of getting. When I finally flagged down a park ranger, the story I gave him was simple. I got lost in the fog, took a bad fall, and got turned around. It was easier than trying to explain the truth. He told me I'd been reported missing 3 days ago. According to my own timeline, I'd only been out there for 2. I had lost an entire day. They never found my pack. I went back a week later with a ranger. We found the spot where I thought the trail had looped. It was just a normal stretch of woods. The bent birch tree was there, but the blaze on it was just a normal, solid white. The ancient oak tree was still gone. The Appalachian Trail isn't just a path. It's a living thing, and it's built on top of something much, much older. And sometimes it remembers what it used to be. The maps don't match reality anymore because reality itself is getting selective. So if you're out there and you see a blaze that looks like it's bleeding, or a fog that feels too quiet, don't try to push through it. Don't trust the path. Run. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced anything you can't explain out on the trail. I need to know I'm not the only one who has seen the seams of the world come apart. And subscribe for more stories from the places the maps have forgotten.